Hello there and welcome to my channel. My name is Doug and I'm back with another fountain pen video. It was quite the journey sourcing and purchasing this pen we're going to look at today. You may recall from episode 1 of Pass Gas with Doug how I lamented the pricing of the brand new Moonman M800 model because of the inclusion of the German Bock nib. I had speculated then that Moonman would soon come out with a model M800 with a Moonman nib, so I waited. Sure enough, about 2 weeks later, the Moonman with the standard nib showed up for half the price of the Bock nib version. I wanted to get the amber version, but 2 attempts failed with cancelled orders because suppliers were having difficulty getting stock. China at the time was reeling from the transportation shutdowns because of the pandemic. So, I ordered the Galaxy Blue instead. You can see a link to that review right here in the description of this video. I tried again a couple of times to get the amber with the Moonman nib, but they seemed to be non-existent. So I bit the bullet and ordered the expensive Bock nib version, and crossed my fingers that I wouldn't just be yanking the Bock nib out and replacing it with a Moonman anyway. But I was keen to actually experience the difference between the Bock and the Moonman nibs. It took a number of weeks for the pen to arrive, but it's here, and let's rip into the package and look at this long-awaited pen right now. And here is a package I've been waiting for a while. I'm hoping it's that package. It looks like it's coming from the place I expected, but we will see. Let's take a look. Yep, there she be. Ooh, I was waiting for this one. This is my Moonman M800 in amber. It's a beauty. So this one is with a Bock nib. I went ahead and bit the bullet and spent the extra to get the number 6 size Bock. Well, I know exactly what ink I'm putting in this, and then I will shoot some soapy water through the nib and ink it up, and we'll come back and take a good close look at this gorgeous pen. Just wow. Just wow. Okay, I'm back after cleaning and inking this pen and writing with it every day for the last week. I've already done a full review of the Moonman M800 Galaxy, which you can see right here. So I won't go into detail about the parts and features of the M800 other than to note the differences between the Moonman nib version, which is my Galaxy, and the Bock nib version, which is the amber. There are 3 differences between these 2 pens. Obviously, one is the nib. The amber has the Bock nib, and the Moonman version, Galaxy, has, as you can see, a Pen BBS nib. It had a Moonman nib in it, and here it is. But I swapped it out for this Pen BBS Waverly nib. This Bock nib is obviously very beautiful in the 2-tone gold and chrome. It has a Bock logo in the middle there and the word Bock, as well as some filigree engraved on it. The second thing that's different is the feed. Of course, this Bock nib requires the Bock feed, which is different than the Moonman feed. And then the third item is the converter. The Bock version takes a standard international converter and standard international cartridges, whereas the Moonman version does not. It comes with a Moonman converter, which looks like that. Will not take standard international cartridges or converters, but it will take Parker long cartridges and Lamy long cartridges. That's good to know for you cartridge lovers. I haven't got a Parker or a Lamy converter, but I suspect they might work in this pen. I'm not sure. Surprisingly, the Pen BBS converter does not work. It's too loose. That surprised me because Pen BBS pens take Parker and Lamy cartridges very well. The other thing that surprised me was that the nib units on both the M800 Bock version and the M800 Moonman version are interchangeable. Of course, the converters aren't, but the threads inside here, when you remove this nib unit, are the same. That means that the nib collars have been threaded to match the standard M800 section threading. The difference is on the end of the collar and the cartridge converter interface, which is obviously different. This makes sense to me as they can manufacture all the pen parts uniformly for the pen and only vary the nib and feed assemblies to change them from a Moonman into a Bock configuration. I wanted to show some size comparisons, but I also wanted to take a moment to compare the Moonman amber acrylic with my other ambers. So here is my Amber as a Cat Pen BBS 500 with the Moonman. Here is my Amber Pen BBS 480, Amber as a Cat. The Pen BBS Amber as a Cat 308, which started all the amber love for me. My Amber is a Cat 323. I love this pen. This is a writer's pen. And this I gave to a friend but borrowed it back just for this. This is the Picasso 975 Aurora. I'm going to do a short insert here on the nature of amber, where amber comes from, what amber's history is, and the mythology and sociology around this fascinating material. I have collected so many amber acrylic resin pens over the last year since I fell down the amber rabbit hole with my Pen BBS 308 Amber as a Cat. I thought it would be appropriate to look at this semi-precious stone and discover its history and mythology. Please use the timestamps to skip forward to other parts of the video if you're in a hurry or just don't want to learn anything and are easily bored. Seriously, dude, where are you running to? And you're watching a fountain pen video. How much more boring can it get?
It's dull, dull, dull. My God, it's dull. It's so deadly dull and tedious and stuffy and boring and desperately dull.
Well, let's find out together, shall we, intrepid viewers? You may or may not know, or perhaps you just don't care, that amber is actually a semi-precious stone that's not a mineral. Amber is a fossilized tree sap, or wood resin. Hence its beautiful honey, orange, yellow, and red hues and dark striations and bands. The dark spots, called inclusions, are usually some form of organic material, like bark or insects that were caught in the sap. The classical Greek name for amber is electron, with a K, a variant of the word elector, meaning beaming sun. In Greek mythology, the son of Helios, the sun god,
Brave Helios, wake up your steeds. Bring the warmth the countryside needs.
That's S-U-N god, was killed and his mourning sisters became poplar trees, and their tears became electron, or amber. The word electron is the root of our words electron, electric, electricity, and words of that root, because of amber's ability to bear a static charge. When heated above 200 degrees Celsius, amber decomposes into a black residue called amber pitch, which, when dissolved in turpentine or linseed oil, forms amber varnish or amber lac. The oldest amber recovered dates from 320 million years ago, but is more abundant from the early Cretaceous period, 150 million years ago. Jurassic amber, as we all know from the fine documentary film Jurassic Park,
No wonder you're extinct. I'm gonna run you over when I come back down.
is responsible for freezing many species of insect, if not actual velociraptors, in its resin. Amber, because of its beauty, as well as its workability, has been used in jewelry making for at least 13,000 years. Amber ornaments have been found in Mycenaean tombs and elsewhere across Europe. Amber has been used in folk medicine for its purported healing properties. Ancient Chinese medicines used ambers to tranquilize the mind. To quote Mr. Scott, "Oh, any good brand of Scotch will do that."
Mixed with alcohol, it merely deadens certain nerve inputs to the brain.
Oh, well, any decent brand of scotch will do that.
Those into the healing nature of stones for our physical and emotional well-being consider amber to have some truly wonderful properties. For example, quote, "Amber is a powerful healer and cleanser of the body, mind, and spirit. It also cleanses the environment. Amber draws disease from the body, healing and renewing the nervous system, and balancing the right and left parts of the brain. It absorbs pain and negative energy, helping alleviate stress. Amber clears depression, stimulates the intellect, and promotes self-confidence and creative self-expression. It encourages decision-making, spontaneity, and brings wisdom, balance, and patience. Amber opens the throat center, treating goiters and other throat problems. It also treats stomach, spleen, kidney, bladder, liver, and gallbladder. Amber strengthens the mucous membranes and alleviates joint problems." Unquote. I used to have trouble with my joints, but I discovered I was just rolling them too tight. However much you believe any of this, there must be something to it, at least because we are so drawn to this material. Its depth and glowing warmth have a soothing effect. At least that's my excuse for having such a growing collection of amber acrylic pens, and I'm sticking to it. Back to the review. And now I'll put up some measurements, and I'll be back with a writing sample. And I'm going to do a nib swap experiment where I'll swap and compare the Bock nib with the standard Moonman and also a Pen BBS fine Waverly nib in this pen. Okay, this is going to be a bit of an experiment. I'm going to do the usual writing sample here with the Bock nib, but then I'm going to experiment by swapping nibs live on camera and do some comparison writing. Things might get messy, so fasten your virtual seatbelts, folks.
Fasten your seatbelts. It's going to be a bumpy night.
First, the Bock nib. The paper here is Clairefontaine 90 GSM, and this is the Moonman M800 with a Bock steel fine nib. And the ink for all of these samples is going to be, because it's the same pen, is going to be Robert Oster, Astrakiza, Rot. So first let's check the wetness here. As you can see, it's fairly wet, which is nice. And it is a fine to on the fine side of medium line. A little bit of pressure. The nib does bend, but it still feels very, very stiff. So there's not a lot of line variation. Let's listen to it right. And for some reverse writing, it's very scratchy and very, very dry. And some quick writing. It doesn't seem to have any trouble keeping up now. I did a follow-up video showing how I had replaced the stock Moonman nib in the Galaxy. Here it is here, for a fine Waverly nib from Pen BBS, and this pen is just glorious now. The Moonman was okay, the Moonman nib on it was okay, but this pen now rivals my Pen BBS 500 Galaxy for the best pen in my stable. I have a second Pen BBS Waverly nib right here. My friend Luke, who's a viewer on my channel, had 2 extra nibs of these two-tone Pen BBS Waverly Fine nibs and sent them to me. Thank you again, Luke. So I thought, well, it'd be interesting to see if I could do a comparison between this nib and the Bock nib. And also, let's look at the original Moonman nib. So here's the Moonman nib that came out of the Moonman M800 Galaxy that I replaced with the Pen BBS. And so I'm thinking, let's do some hot swaps here. It doesn't fit with a standard converter. So I had to swap out the converter. I had to find one. I don't know where this converter came from, but it does fit this Moonman feed. And so I'm going to use that. And we're going to swap this out. This part of the swap is very easy. We just take the standard international converter out. Let's give this a start here. Take this one. That's the cool thing about this, is that these sections are, there we go, finally cut the thread. The sections are identical among all the M800s, and so you can put standard feeds into these. And I'll talk about that a little bit later. So we're going to put that in. We're going to charge the feed a little bit, put the barrel back on. My wife is going to think I cut my wrists down here. So this is the Moonman M800 with a Moonman fine steel nib. Check some wetness here. Very nice and wet. Again, this is a little bit thicker than the Bock. This would be halfway between a fine and a medium for me anyway. Not a lot of line variation again. It's very stiff. But it doesn't drag across the paper like the Bock does, which is interesting. But this pen is also nicely wet. So let's listen. And for some reverse writing, actually does that very nicely. and for some quick writing. Again, it keeps up very, very, very well because it's very wet. This is still wet over here. Now, let's do, this is going to be messier.
Who are we? The Pylons!
I'm going to take that Moonman nib out, and I'm going to put this Pen BBS number 6 nib in. We're going to use the same feed from the Moonman, so we'll have to use this non-standard converter, or Parker or Lamy cartridges. And this time, instead of unscrewing, I'm just going to pull that nib out. Generally, you just take a little bit of rubber material, or an elastic band will do it as well, and just pull. And put the section aside, and I'm going to take this nib, and I'm going to put it on that feed, and line it up as best I can. And again, the flat part of the back of the section lines up with the flat part of, the flat part of the end of the feed lines up with the flat part at the end of the section, and you just push the whole kit and caboodle in until it's seated properly. There we go. It's as far in as it can go. And the only other thing I check for is to make sure that the feed is aligned with the shoulders and it's all on center. So we're going to put our converter full of ink back in, turn it upside down, and get that ink flowing. Put the barrel back on. And this is the Moonman M800 with a Pen BBS Waverly fine nib. Let's check the wetness on this one. Very nice and wet. This is about the same thickness as the Bock, I would say. This is very, very smooth. This is the smoothest of the three. And if we push it a little bit, you get nothing. That's typical with these Pen BBS. They just no give at all. So let's listen to it right. And reverse. It's very dry, very thin. And some quick writing. No problems keeping up at all. Now, nibs aside, I do want to comment on the M800. I already gave my feelings on this pen with my review of the Galaxy M800. I loved this pen the moment I held it. I was lukewarm about the Moonman nib, however. But when I put the Waverly nib in it, the Pen BBS Waverly, it has become a real close rival of my Pen BBS 500 Galaxy. This amber version was a good deal more expensive. Between the Bock and the Moonman nib, I prefer the Moonman, and of course, I prefer the Pen BBS Waverly nib head and shoulders over both. I'm not disappointed I paid the extra for the Bock. I was keen to compare them. I'm going to put up an image of the sale of this pen to show you the price I paid. Of course, all of this is, in the end, subjective. I don't claim to be an expert, far from it. All I'm doing is sharing my experiences, and this has been a fascinating experience for me. Well, it keeps me off the streets anyway.
Get out of the street, you bum!
Keeps my fingers covered in ink. The Moonman M800 is an incredible pen for the money, regardless of which nib you choose. The fact that the nibs are so easily changed that you can change to a Jovo or a Bock or a Nemosine nib means you can get a marvelous writing instrument tuned to your personal taste. Caveat here. I have only used Bock, Moonman, and Pen BBS No. 6 nibs here. I know that the Moonman M800 section has threading that will allow standard nib feed assembly collars from different manufacturers. I have successfully installed into the M800 the nib units from Monteverdi and a Conklin Durograph. So I took this nib unit out and screwed in my Conklin, the black nib, and it worked just fine. And I also put in my friend's Monteverdi Impreza section, which are both standard international kinds of units, and they worked very nicely. I would assume Goulet Jovo No. 6 unit would fit, though I don't know this for certain. I know Aaron has put a titanium Bock nib assembly on his Amber 800 with good results. Even though I'm not a big fan of purple, I might have to get one of these purple ones now too. These are such beautiful pens. So, if you liked this video, please like and subscribe, and don't forget to ring that bell to get instant notification when new videos arrive. Also, don't forget to tune in again next Wednesday for the first of 5 alternating Wednesday Fluent fountain pen giveaways.
Same bat time, same bat channel.
And that just leaves it for me to say, thank you for watching. And that's all she wrote.